This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show where we talk about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to get in touch with the show, or if you want to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you
can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. We use it a lot, especially if you have charcoal-driven cookers. That's charcoal. But in the grand scheme of the charcoal industry, it appears that there is first place and everybody else. And a lot of folks don't really know everybody else. It's Kingsford and then what other brand that you might have available to you in your particular region. Somebody in Texas might have access to something that people in Ohio or people in Canada or people in Arkansas, right on down the list. We all might have access to different other brands where the Kingsford brand is universally available globally even. So what am I getting at? I'm getting at this. We're going to be talking about new charcoal. Well, not new necessarily, but perhaps new to some of you. Joey Machado, Texas Original Charcoal, 914. So we'll talk to Joey about how he got into the charcoal business. A lot of you might know the name Joey Machado. You would associate that with brands like B&B and Fogo and some other great companies. Blues Hog for a number of years. But finally had enough of doing it for other folks and bought into a business. And now he's doing it his own right. Also sells some really great cookers. So looking forward to talking with Joey Machado 11 minutes from now. 35 past the hour because it is the third Tuesday of a month. It's time to talk business and new releases and trademarks and law and all that with our pal over at cookoutnews.com, Wes Wright, rejoins the show for his monthly segment as we get ready to close out here 2023, which, by the way, rapidly coming to a close. Then we'll move into the second hour where we will find, much like a quarter from 3 months ago, to be redundant, 14 past the second hour, our last quarterly visit from Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue trailer owner-operator Joe Martinez. Now, in this instance, it's going to be a little bit different of an interview. It's going to set up like this, where before it was run up to day one of sales, and then what was Q1 like, Q2, Q3, Q4. We've done all of that. But through the calendar year, Joe was open longer than we've actually been doing this particular podumentary of his here in 2023. So we're going to do what Q4 looked like in his first year of business. And then through that, we're going to then try and get caught up as we get ready to turn the page on the year. And I did talk with Joe through Soundcheck yesterday. While I thought I had a 2024 podumentary all lined up, in fact, two folks came down to the Hartville Hardware Barbecue and Grilling Competition and Demonstration Exhibition. They didn't pitch themselves to me, but they said, hey, we're opening a barbecue supply restaurant here west side of Cleveland. And I thought, this would be great. They're not open yet. We can track them in real time. We can do 2024 podumentary on barbecue supply store life. That has slowly dwindled to where I think we're going to wait on that. So they've done some due diligence on their part. Maybe it doesn't seem or feel like it's the right time to open barbecue supply. I think they were in Amherst, Ohio, somewhere like that. So we'll wait on them. But in lieu of that, because I wanted to have some form of documentary, podumentary, as we call it, Joe Martinez has agreed to stay on because why? Very important. Joe has said on a number of occasions through the 2023 podumentary that we've been doing, he's looking in earnest to do brick and mortar restaurant. What would be better than following the trials and tribulations of converting from barbecue trailer to brick and mortar restaurant owner? Setting up to be a great 2024 podumentary with our pal Joe Martinez. And we know him already, so we have built-in love interest with Joe, of course. Closing the show this evening for the last time in 2023, a quarterly guest, a barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. In fact, the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. And we'll be talking about a best of list because we all love lists this time of year. Daniel Vaughn joins us once again. And that's going to close out the show here this evening as we lead into Christmas, which will take place on Monday. And yes, Danielle, we will have a show on Tuesday. In fact, it is booked solid for next Tuesday already. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, the Ticker Talks, and the Snappy Snaps at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook, which is facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also go to X, which is twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Or you can watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. So all the same handles, depending on what property you're going to go to on the internet. You want to do a slash or a /@ if you're going to YouTube. By the way, we do have a YouTube poll question of the week. And yeah, I see you, Kinger, in there saying that I'm hitting the poll really hard with the question. But this question is a setup for something later on in the show. I'm asking everybody this YouTube poll question of the week, guests included. Do you eat vegetables? Currently, 100% of you are saying yes, you do eat vegetables. By the way, while I am staunchly against onions at any and all costs, and I will eat them only under the most grievance of protest, I also eat vegetables regularly. I find them to be fascinating, texturally inclusive in a number of dishes, great all by themselves for the most part. So I'm a big vegetable eater, big vegetable believer, like the vitamins that you get in those, the minerals. But again, I'm not taking the week off of the poll question. It's a lead-in to a much cooler take. But I'm just drawing you in with my nonsense here. So this is where I usually hit you with an opening take, but I'm going to forego that because I have had weeks of not giving you fan feedback from shows past, and we will start with John in Michigan, who writes in, Greg, When Meathead takes the wheel, it just sucks. LOL. What the F was that? And that game show he was running last Tuesday. Regards, John. John, you know with me, over longevity, if you continue to give good stuff to the show, and Meathead has given well over a decade of mostly good stuff to the show, I will fall victim to it. He pitched it to me. I said, let's run with it. Little did I know it was going to be a disaster. It was. Meathead has earned himself the right to never tell me how to run the segment. He wasn't telling me, but he suggested it. And I gave him some rope. He hung himself. Terry in Ohio. Greg, the embedded correspondent segment has become my favorite part of the show. I love hearing each of your thoughts on the questions that are asked. I love that you are going further in depth on some of those as well. Kudos to you, and I think Rusty is as tough as they come, showing up so quickly after coming back from an emergency room visit on a number of days at that. Rusty, you're the man. Regards, Terry. So thank you for writing it. Joey Machado will be showing up here shortly. Before we get to him, we'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? It's time to step your game up. Do I have that somewhere? Hold on. It's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
I have it. Bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to your backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills offer the highest quality live fire cooking experience that you can get in the market today using either wood or charcoal. Their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for friends and family, perhaps this coming weekend. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. This is their take on the very popular Santa Maria-style grill. Check them out online, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com, all spelled out with a double T on the Pits and the Spits /BBQ Central. And as you're checking out, once you fall in love with that dream charcoal grill that will last generations, save yourself $150. Why don't you? Use promo code Charcoal Central at checkout. That's Charcoal Central, not BBQ Central. Charcoal Central at checkout. I will save you $150. I'll eat that off the cost of the charcoal grill that you buy. Have it shipped to your door. And again, you're going to love it for the rest of your life. And whatever live fire lover you have in your life that you can pass it on to, they're going to love you for loving them enough to give it to them. pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, the website, Charcoal Central, the promo code at checkout for $150 off. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com, or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com if you would prefer. All the great varietals of cooking pellets at Walmart, Lowe's, and Amazon, except you get incredible shipping rates over there as well. So why not save money where you can? Absolutely. Kinger saying eat too much raw onion and you can smell like one. Absolutely. Just one of the many reasons I would never eat onions, aside from the fact that I don't understand how any human being ever can eat a raw onion by choice. I had a neighbor growing up in the mean streets of Bainbridge, Ohio as a middle-aged youth. He ate them like apples. Peel the onion papers off in his hand like an apple, but not an apple. Raw onion and just to the face. Like, what is going on over here? He later committed many multiple murders and he's in prison for life now. I'm just kidding, Brian. He's not real. But this guy ate raw onion like apple. So now I will say, in all truthfulness here, putting all my cards on the table, I will actually go out of my way to try and not eat garlic as well, but expressly for the purpose that Kinger has mentioned. For me, Sicilian, got the skin, got the Earl in the blood, all that stuff. When I eat garlic, I love it. This isn't like hate onions taste-wise and they are vile, the devil's food. I love garlic. It loves me so much, it never wants to leave. So I will try my best to skirt around it. But sometimes you can't help it, or you don't know, or what am I going to show up at somebody's house and say, did you put garlic in here? I would just rather not smell like it for a week. But if the gloves are off, the gloves are off. What can I tell you? All right, joining me now, a not first-timer, but he might be a second-timer to the show. Owner of Texas Original Charcoal Company, Joey Machado, joining us here on the show. Uh-oh. Joey? Are you there? Let me punch up the right... No, I'm sorry. Let me go to line 7 over here. Joey, how are you, pal? This is even doubly weird because, as most of you know, I don't have a phone line. Right? Let me try line 18. That's blinking. We race to the hotline and welcome back our pal, Joey Machado, to the... Oh, dear. I think we have an issue, as they say in the business. Which means our guest is not there. Is he there?
Yeah.
No. Just in from Joey Machado, feeling under the weather, body aches, the whole 9 yards, and he's not going to make it.
Get that big stuff out of here.
What are you going to do? People get sick. Maybe he's got an Omicron variant. And away we go. So, no Joey Machado. I'll have to send him a link so he can rebook himself in 2024. Had I had even a bit more heads up, I would have tried to execute a rebook with cigar expert, friend of the show, and general sales manager over at the number 2guyscigars.com, Mr. Jonathan. But we can't do that either. So now I'm left to fend for myself. Oh dear, what could I possibly have to talk about? Well, luckily, for as good as the guests were last week, and line them up one right after another, Meathead unveiling the worst game show ever in the history of game shows. That was great. Although, I will say this. After we got through the most painful game show ever in the history of game shows, Meathead saved the segment with this little gem. In fact, I'm going to use the term viral because all the kids are saying it, everybody, when they get more than like 300 views on an Instagram reel. I made a micro content piece, buzzword, with Meathead's talk of how he does prime rib. Usually we do a whole dissertation on prime rib, where it comes from, how you twine it up to make sure it's all the same thickness, how it doesn't matter if it's 3 pounds or 10 pounds, as long as it's the same shape in cylinder, it cooks in the same amount of time. 18 pounds, 6 pounds, whatever. Meathead talked about coolering the already. So he said, I sous vide. I've gone to sous videing my rib roasts. And then, because I'm traveling, he say, over the river and through the woods, he puts the already sous videed meat in bag into a hot cooler. Sounds like he's got some type of tempered water in there at the temperature he was probably sous videing at or close to. And here he is, sticking the bag in a cooler full of probably the same temperature water, keeping it right in. And you know, if he's got half a quality cooler, the thing's going to hold temperature for hours and hours on end. It was a revelation. And that thing went viral on Instagram. People saying, I never thought of this. I'm going to try that this coming weekend. The list goes on. So, for as good or bad as that game show was, the great portion, and it was literally a minute of great content coming out of Meathead in that segment, coolering the already sous videed rib roast. Again, a revelation, especially on social. Of course, everyone loves Robert Moss. He had a great segment. Everybody loving the insight and takes that he's bringing to the table every month. Withstanding all of that and retaining, and still the retainer of the title event generating the most new news in 2023 is what?
Here comes the money. Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Ching, ching, bling, bling, come to cheddar.
Money, 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 money.
If you ain't with the gang, then your money don't matter.
Money, 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 money.
Yes, friends,
Ching,
it
ching,
is
ski, ski, come
Memphis
profit.
in May once again, or Memphis, the city in general, that happens to have competing contests. I don't even know how we can say it. The Memphis affair. Malcolm said something about the Memphis in May affair. Maybe that was for the KCB. I don't know. You can't call it Memphis in May because now it's encompassing multiple events. However, December 14th, that would be 5 days ago, a PRNewsWire.com news release sent to me by Carrie Bringle, who was on the show 3 weeks ago now, talking about this new event. New barbecue festival and fan experience will deliver the biggest cash prize in pork barbecue history. Not saying biggest prize in competition barbecue history, although I don't know a lot of barbecue competitions in general that are exceeding a total prize purse of $250,000. Few and far between. Ronnie Cates used to run Smoke on the Water, and he was doing $100,000 contests in overall purse. I don't know what the winner was getting, and I'm not going to guess what the winner was getting, but I can tell you this. Forward Momentum, the organizers of the new barbecue festival to take place from May 16th through the 18th, 2024, at where Tom Lee Park, announced that the festival's overall prize money will be a cool $250,000, Polly, spread across a number of categories. Most important part here, because 2 weeks ago when Malcolm and Heath were on, while Heath was saying, I'm going to run with the big dogs over at Memphis in May, if that's at the Liberty Bowl or wherever the hell else it's going to be at, that's where the big teams are going to be. That's where the world championships are going to be. That's where the auto qualifiers, if I win, are going to be. So I'm going to run there. Malcolm did happen to say, and then again, backed it up on his own podcast a week later, which I played cuts from, I want to know what the prize money's like. Well, I can tell you this. There is a $50,000 prize purse for the grand champion. 50 grand. That means, pursuant to Malcolm only, because he said in the cut that they're spending roughly $35,000 to compete at Memphis in May for the last handful of years. It was $3,500 the first year, has progressively gone up since then, and over the last number of years, it's $35,000. That means back out expenses, he's still plus $15K in the black. He's made money on Memphis in May, which I don't think anybody goes to Memphis in May with the thought that they're going to make money. Depending on how much you put into your booth or your spot, even if you win the damn thing, you're in the red. This could allow you to make money. It's $50,000 for a grand championship purse payout. Organizers believe this is the largest competition purse in pork barbecue competition history, and big news for Memphis and the barbecue community. Now, you might be saying, why pork? Why are they calling out pork specifically? Because that's all this is. This is also not brisket or chicken. It's ribs, it's pork shoulder, and it's whole hog. So I'm assuming, well, they haven't said that that's what all you're going to be cooking in this Memphis new competition is going to be pork. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking about pork barbecue competition history. In a quote, "We are committing financially in a big way to send a signal to teams that we're serious about hosting a barbecue contest that will be a world-class event, both from a team's and for a local and out-of-town visitor experience. Our mission is to attract the best teams in the U.S. and from around the world, and to create a fan experience that will stimulate our local economy and business and keep them coming back year after year," end quote, said Mike Smith from Forward Momentum. By the way, continuing to effort a conversation with Mike Smith here on the show. The new barbecue festival, still not named, will take advantage of a new design at Tom Lee Park that will show off the park's assets with as little disruption as possible, because that went over really well last time. Our event is a total fan experience. Barbecue will be at the center of the event, honoring our rich tradition of barbecue in Memphis, and it will appeal to a wider, more inclusive audience with live music, games, activity for kids, fireworks, and much, much more, Smith went on to say. Smith said that in January, so like in 2 weeks, the organization will launch the event's name and announce some interesting partnerships that will give pitmasters and teams more exposure to new fans and audiences, continuing to quote, "We hope to take barbecue to a whole new level. This event will be well-run, financially successful, and provide a great platform for world-class barbecue competitors. With that in mind, our entry fees will be in line with other competitions, and we will consult our steering committee who represent the teams to ensure the competition is robust and interesting for fans." Now, in my conversations with folks inside and outside of this, as we talk about this specific competition, I have heard more than once that the fees for this event will end up being less than what Memphis in May currently runs at, for whatever the average cost is. I don't know if we should use Malcolm as an average cost, but I think there's some teams that spend quite a bit more than Malcolm does. So I would say, I don't know, what, 15 grand, 20 grand on the average. So we'll see what the fees are as they start to roll those out. And what's with the holding of the name back until January? Soon enough, it will be May. I figure you want to get that stuff out. If you have a name for it already, like, why are we sandbagging it until the new year? Nobody cares about that. Get the name out there so everybody like me, can call it by its name, give you unsolicited promotion. By the way, if you're looking for new partnerships, new Memphis competition, look no further than your boy right here. I'm a hype man like no other. Forward Momentum also announced that Craig Blondest, a famed Central Barbecue in Memphis, has joined the organization steering committee. His appointment is one of many to be announced over the next few months, alongside pitmaster Kerry Bringle from Peg Leg Porker, who is a winner of numerous barbecue awards over his 31 years in the competitive barbecue world. Continuing to quote, "Our approach is to involve the barbecue community in how the competition is set up and judged, and to involve the business community in creating a uniquely Memphis experience for barbecue fans and tourists who would like to experience our city," close quote, said Smith. For more information, teams can contact Forward Momentum by using this email address, bbq@mempho, M-E-M-P-H-O, not nympho weirdos, memphopresents.com. That's bbq@memphopresents.com. And if you're interested in an entry form, you can go to BBQ Fest. I'm not even bothering with that. If you want it, I'll send you the link, or you can find it over at PR Newswire. It's one of the most recent ones put up. So, if you were wondering what the prize payout's going to be,
Here comes the money. Here comes the money.
$250,000 overall prize, $50,000 prize purse for the grand champion at the new Memphis barbecue competition that is really bidding itself to be far more fan-friendly than most barbecue competitions are. I don't know if I had it ready to go in the second take or not, or maybe it was a fan feedback. Somebody was talking about how Kerry Bringle said that they were trying to make an event that was more fan-friendly, or maybe a guest said that competition barbecue isn't a spectator sport. Traditionally, it isn't. It's not really set up to be fan-friendly for people to mill around, because historically, there has been an edict put out to where you can't hand out samples of your food because there's a health code restriction, or there's a health code violation, or the health department doesn't want, I don't know. But that's typically been the run for that. And that's why it's never been a great experience for fans, because fans are coming in, as we've heard before, especially with some of the other guests over the last couple of weeks. If you're going to a barbecue competition as a spectator, you want to eat. You don't care if you're going to be buying it or if it's going to be given to you, sampling. You want to eat it if you're going there, and it's really hard to come by. So that's a big drawback, and it sounds like the new Memphis barbecue competition and festival is going to try and be able to showcase that a little bit more. Since we're doing lists, how about this from Johnny Brayson over at Gear Patrol? I asked the barbecue cooks and pros, what barbecue sauce do you buy at the grocery store? One bottle dominated. I'll wait. Who do you think dominated the barbecue sauce? Who the pros use when they buy it at the grocery store? Who do you think? Go ahead. Throw them up there. Throw them up there. Come on. Come on. Here you go. Number one, and if you don't have it, shame on you, because it's the first one that came to my mind. Number one, what do the pros use? Sweet Baby Ray's. More than any other, if you can believe it. Second, this one was a shocker. Semi-Famous Dave's Rich and Sassy Barbecue Sauce, coming in fourth place. The guy that showed up here last week for his origin story, Tim Shear. Blues Hog Original Barbecue Sauce. I'm more a fan of the Tennessee Red between the two. Actually, if I have my druthers, I'm mixing 75% Tennessee Red, 25% Blues Hog Original, and that's a tasty sauce. And then number 4 was Head Country, the Original Barbecue Sauce. Let me make sure I didn't miss any there. Head Country, yeah. So those are your top 4. Sweet Baby Ray running away with it. Over 50% of teams saying they buy Sweet Baby Ray's. Famous Dave's Rich and Sassy, never had it. Blues Hog Original, and Head Country. And we thank Joey Machado for showing up this past segment.
I'm just kidding!
Wes Wright is ready, though. I know this because I can see him right in my switcher. By the way, a shocking update to the YouTube poll question of the week that we'll get to here in a second when we ask Wes. Before we do that, I was just having a conversation at lunch where I took my customer out to Das Schnitzel House over in Parma, Ohio, which is the largest suburb of our fair city of Cleveland, which resides behind me here. Not a green screen, by the way. He said, if I don't want to get a pellet cooker, and I'm looking at a ceramic, which one should I get? I said, I know exactly what, Prima. Now, be prepared to spend a little money, but be prepared to save in the long run. Why is that? Because you're getting two grills in one. You're getting one that operates at ridiculous low and slow temperatures, and it does it exceedingly well. Now, it also doubles as a high heat cooker. So if you want to grill, you want to do pizza, you want to move the coals off to the left and the right side, you can do a little indirect. You can move the coals all the way over to one side completely and have another side completely without coals and do a real two-zone fire, which is really where the oval shines. You can't do a true two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker. But oh my goodness. I mean, I got 4 inches of snow on the ground right now. It's cold like Mike, but it's going to be 50 tomorrow, so we'll take that. But if I was outside cooking right now, it doesn't matter how cold it is. Ceramics warm up, fuel consumption reduces. Man, it's great. Multiple cooks out of a single load of charcoal. Only sold through dealers, primogrill.com. Find a dealer near you. Best ceramics in the biz, patented technology, true two-zone cooking capabilities. The list goes on. Find the oval that best fits your life, and then thank me later. And then we enjoyed our veal schnitzel. Wait, mine was pork. Yeah, it was great. Das Schnitzel House. Shout out. We're back with Wes Wright. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Fireboard 2. So you can get that. You can also get the Fireboard Spark, which is an instant read meat thermometer, also a one-channel Fireboard. And a clearinghouse to get all the other stuff from a Fireboard multi-import if you're doing that. And, of course, the new Fireboard Beacon. Fireboard.com is a place to go. You call with questions, 816-945-2232. If you do call in, maybe Ted will answer the phone. Tell him the show sent you. He would love that especially. All right, enough of this nonsense. We're back with our pal and creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright, who is showing up, unlike people that will be remain nameless. Let's forget that. Let's go ahead and name names. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself, Wes. I apologize. We have a YouTube poll question of the week. It's a loaded YouTube poll question of the week at that, but sounds simple enough. We're asking everybody tonight, and it's yes or no. Do you eat vegetables, Wes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Happily or under protest or some of both?
No, I enjoy them.
All right.
They're good.
It's a loaded question. I'm going to get to it in the second hour, so if you tune immediately out after you're done, you can get it Thursday and replay, or you can watch the video at any point on demand because it auto archives. A lot of stuff to get to here. Before we do that, I was supposed to have Joey Machado on last segment, but he got sick, had a little bit of a sniffy nose, and then couldn't do it. What do you know about the Texas Original Charcoal Company as it relates to the charcoal industry in general?
I've talked to Joey about it before. It's supposed to be I haven't tried it yet. I want to order some barbecue guys because I think they sell it. And it's supposed to be a ultra premium charcoal. So he's a guy that's been in the business for a long time. So he's just kind of, his business model was cutting out the middleman essentially and, bringing that charcoal to market.
In your estimation, if you're getting into the charcoal business, should your first thought be, I don't want to compete with Kingsford?
I mean, I wouldn't want to compete with them on like,
or I mean, you can't, right? I mean, it's
like
so
run
widely available.
You're not, and they're like they have 80% of the market. They have all the relationships, which is so important with grocery stores and, big box stores. So I don't see how you can, they'd have to really screw something up.
So to be successful, you are finding a better niche than what is in essence every other charcoal the way I've understood it, I was going to ask Joey this last segment. There's a few companies that seem to be making most of the charcoal. So if you're not digging through the back of the bag to find out where it's coming from, or they're not telling you, it's not like there's 483 different original charcoal manufacturers. There's a few companies that seem to be making most of the charcoal.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it from, talking to him and what I've read. A lot of it's like white labeled. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to compete with Kingsford, you either got to go even cheaper or you have to go premium, I would think. One of the two. You can't just make a comparable briquette.
Big news. Big news. I knew it was coming down the pike, and I held it close to the vest. I just didn't know exactly when it was going to be released. But the biggest news of this past week, and perhaps since you were on last time, is that Blackstone is unveiled. They we'll get into that here in a second. They unveiled last past Friday a pellet cooker griddle combo, first of its kind on planet Earth that we know of. So, what can you tell me about what I guess in essence could end up being a new flagship product for them?
Yeah, it looks like a cool product, and it's their first step into pellet grilling. They're so entrenched in griddles, although they do have some like small gas grills they have too. But it's, it looks like a neat product. It's a Lowe's exclusive, which I always am curious on those exclusive relationships, because Lowe's has a lot of really nice Blackstone griddles. I don't know if you've looked at their selection, but like the knobs all look good and they look refined. They have that, omnivore cooking plate that's supposed to be, the best out there. So it retails for $11.99. They announced it like it was going to be released, but I'd search every probably 30 minutes to an hour and I can't find it on Lowe's. Yeah, I can find the cover for it on Lowe's.
I don't think I don't think it's being technically released until after the first of the year.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, that's news. That's news to me. I don't know. That's kind of a missed opportunity in my opinion, because you generate buzz and then people find it. And I can tell you from my own website, like Google's pushing out my article on it pretty heavily, and there's nowhere anyone can go to buy it. So by the time it's actually released, people have short attention spans, and you run the risk of they just move on to something else.
This was supposed to be kept under wraps until this past Friday. I alluded to it and didn't want to bust it. But earlier in the week, last week, there were pictures of it leaked. Fake leak or real leak? What do you think?
I think it's real. I think that's a theme we're seeing amongst that one, go bigger, go barbecue, shout out. He sent me the picture and said it looked like Lowe's from some of his background he did, which obviously it is. But we're seeing that, with the Traeger Flat Rock. I'm trying to think. There are a couple other grills that have been released. When you have like a wide distribution, if you're just some guy working in the back unloading grills, you see something cool, you're going to snap a picture, right? It's with so many stores, it's hard to keep that under wraps with that supply chain.
I was messaging back and forth with the VP of marketing over Blackstone, and tongue in cheek said, "Who gets fired for the leak?" And his reply back was, "I would rather be leaked than never be leaked at all. So at least it's showing that there's an interest and people would generate buzz over it." Part part of me buys into that, but the other half of me is like, if you're really trying to keep this under wraps and somebody leaks it out there because everybody wants to be first here anymore, that's kind of a pisser. I would be pissed if I was really trying to keep it under wraps until, plus you're building the social media, tune in on 12:15 and showing little flames and trying to build all this hype. Well, meanwhile, your dick's already out.
Yeah, I think there's two schools of thought. I could go either way. I feel like a lot of grill companies are more and more like tech, especially when you look at Traeger and how they were, the trajectory they've been on. But that's something that's really popular in the tech industry is fake leaks. Somebody finds a phone somewhere, but not really. So you can get out these features, and then people, I think it's a fine line between your competitors seeing something, but usually there's a long development cycle. So I don't think that's a real thing there. But, you get all the features out there, and then hopefully it builds up hype, and, people stand in line at an Apple store for 3 hours. I think that's the idea.
Thoughts on potential success, your speculation?
Yeah, I think they'll have success with it. I think Blackstone's doing a great job, and it's a brand that, that is very well known, and it's just seems to be growing. So I think too, if you're picking, two things that are popular, for purchases, it's pellet grills. Seems like everyone wanted one of those. Whether or not they already have them is another story. But and griddles, that's so you can get 2 in 1 and save yourself buying 2 grills.
When you look at the spec of it, and there's a number of pictures out there now, so if you're listening to us and you don't know exactly what we're talking about, you can Google search it up pretty quick, or you can go to Wes's website and see everything that he has posted. All my social media stuff is eliminated because I did it on stories. What did you like that you saw that's on it, and what didn't you like, or what would you have hoped would have been included if it's not?
I think on the pellet, well, it's kind of two halves there. So the pellet grill half, I think they really, they nailed everything you could want there. It has, I didn't see a temperature range, but I'm sure it's competitive, whatever it is. It's $11.99 for the whole thing, which seems pretty reasonably priced for, a duo grill like that. Then, it has Wi-Fi connectivity, 4 meat probes, 20-pound a pellet hopper, and they have a neat like folding grill grate thing you can do inside, which is kind of neat. And they have a rollover lid, which is a neat design feature. So I there's not much more you could want on the pellet grill side. The griddle side, it's whether or not 2 burners is enough for you and what you're using it for. That's really the only thing. But also, you don't want this giant like train of a grill though either. So, it's kind of, you have to pick your poison. Yeah.
So 2 things that stood out to me. I would want a 36-inch griddle on that. I think it's 22 inches across and, 20 or whatever it is deep. So I would definitely want another 14 inches of griddle from left to right. Maybe it's a 3 burner at that point. The 36 I have now, or 36 inch I have now, is actually 4 burner, but I don't know if it's the one on the combo is would be as deep, but I would want a little bit more left to right, number 1. Number 2, I don't know what the fascination with companies putting raw cast iron for grates. Like, who cares about that? To me, that's a headache. I wish they would have consulted with me before they put this thing into production. And I would say either do a porcelain coated cast iron. I understand what the response back is going to be. Oh, cast iron heats up, even heating, blah, blah, blah. If you want to grill on it, whatever. I'm not going to grill on that thing. Or do like the nice gauge steel bars, the stainless steel bars, whatever you find in some of the higher end stuff. I think raw cast iron for the general consumer, they're not going to keep up with it. And you're going to get one spot of rust on that, and it's going to spread around. And now you got somebody going, oh, my grill grates, rust all over the place. Why do people like to put in cast iron, or is it cheap?
I think it's a trade-off with heat retention, is that, it holds heat so well. So, it probably helps with sear marks, I would imagine, too. Someone else can say otherwise. I'm a fan of stainless steel grates myself. I don't like I don't like the fake coated metal ones that aren't really stainless. I like a true stainless steel grate, and even if the heat retention is good, just from a durability standpoint, I think that's the way I would go.
Is there a better brand than Blackstone in the live fire industry right now, covering all the bases?
I don't think a singular brand. No, I would say that I feel like they're releasing what people want. They have what's hot. They have griddles. They have a pizza oven, which is hot. They have now a pellet grill. I think that they're kind of figuring it out, and they're probably doing better than a lot of other companies.
Would it make sense for them to, at some point, release a gas grill? I know it would be counter to the griddle, but could that complete their portfolio in a sense?
It depends what their thinking is. I think if you look at the trends, gas grills decline every year, even though they're overwhelmingly still the most popular grill. So it's whether you're betting on the future of that, or all their materials about why a griddle is so much better and you don't need a gas grill. So it'd be kind of funny to release a gas grill, because then you have to figure out your messaging there. But I think that they're having enough success just pushing that a griddle can do everything, that a gas grill can for the most part. So they do have little gas grills. I think they could easily make a big gas grill. I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised if they did.
I did see in one of the promo videos where they were obviously reverse searing a tomahawk in the griddle or the pellet cooker side, and then they had the griddle on, and they just went from one side, boom, slam the tomahawk down on the griddle side to start getting the sear, get that crust on it. So that was a pretty cool thing. Switching out of Blackstone, let's go to Traeger for a second, since we've already mentioned them. They had a fairly large recall on their newest item, which happens to be a griddle called the Flat Rock. What can you tell us about that?
From reading the release on it, it sounds like some of the labels on the control knobs for the gas burners were mislabeled. So my guess is off isn't really off. It's on. So I think that's what the replacement is that you can contact them and they'll send you a new knob that's properly labeled.
Is there a fire hazard with that, or are you just burning through liquid propane because it's not technically off?
If you thought it was off and you were just had an open fire, I think that's probably a no-no. That'd scare me, at least, to just have a burning gas grill outside.
Any predictions for Traeger in 2024? Cookers, acquisitions, accessories, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think, they've redesigned the top of the line, their timber line. They redesigned the ironwood. I think they're going to release a new Pro, which is their entry-level Wi-Fi connected grill. I think we'll see that same style trickle down to that. I'm guessing in 24.
Ready for my guess for Traeger? You heard it here first. Gas grill. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Book it. Masterbuilt has brought 2 new grills to market. One might be a bit of a revamp, but the other one is new. So the first one I'd like to hit is that gravity cooker, which is, in my estimation, probably the best item that Masterbuilt has really ever made. It seems to have seen a lot of success. It seems to work pretty well. What can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, it's neat. I have a gravity series that works well. I have some minor complaints, but overall it works well. And it's actually, the way they built it is similar to their portable charcoal grill, which I have one of those too, where you have a little compartment on the side that you load with charcoal, and then you light it, and then there's a fan that controls it, and it works just like a regular grill, except you just set the temperature, and it's charcoal, so it works well. Even their portable works well. The only real downside is it can get a little hot next to that box, so you don't get great uniformity. But I think they'll have success with that. And I agree, Masterbuilt, their gravity series is really the best thing they have going and ever have.
What was the second cooker they were doing?
It's called I want to say XT, Gravity Series XT. So it's bigger, and then from the Connected Joe, they took that controller and put it on it instead of it's kind of crappy, the one they have on there now. And then it's a redesigned manifold, so you don't get flare-ups.
So is Masterbuilt the ones that created the Connected Joe? Like they have the technology on that? They own all that?
Yeah, they have a patent for it.
Is it a different company that does it?
Yeah, according to I think the Primo Grill interview that I listened on your site, that it was shopped to them, but they do have a patent on the technology. I've read the patent, so
interesting. I didn't know that CES was such a hotspot for grill manufacturers or grill sellers to showcase their new wares. Did you know CES was that hot? No pun intended.
No, I had heard, a grill or two maybe in history being released there. Maybe I don't track CES that much. It always looks like a cool, fun time, with all sorts of gadgets and stuff. But yeah, two different, grill companies releasing grills there. So that's an interesting trend to follow.
Let's look at a 2023 recap. Best thing that happened in the business of live fire in 2023.
I'd have to go with what WC Bradley's doing. They bought Pit Boss and under Danson's. Oklahoma Joe's, they have some really cool stuff that just came out, and another thing in the pipeline that'll be in early January. Then they also released that new electric grill brand that'll be at CES. I just think, even with Charbroil too, they have more outdoor kitchen options. I think they're just really, doing a great job. So I think that's, to me, the best thing in 23.
Worst thing that happened in 2023?
Weber being taken private. I'd say, that happened early 23 because they were plummeting. And I we miss out on a lot of information there, and we'll see what happens.
In your best guess, biggest news item that we'll see in 2024?
I think actually it'll be with Weber, and I don't know. Maybe me personally, I think this is neat. I don't know if everyone else is on board, but I think they release a smart gas grill in 24 where you can control it with your phone. All the burners run off electronics. Wow. I think that's a pretty big story and transformative for gas grills.
Wes Wright is running cookoutnews.com. Make sure you're over there multiple times a week so you can see what's going on. You can find him here on the third Tuesday of every month, and we look forward to starting off January 2024 with some new hot news. Wes, appreciate the time this year and all the segments, the great information. We look forward to continuing it on next year.
Yeah, sounds good. As always, thanks for the time, Greg.
You got it. Wes Wright. Killing it as always, of course. So we thank him for joining us. Trying to think of what my 2024 prediction is going to be. I'll write that down, and then we'll talk to the embedded correspondents next week, as it's week 4 already, if you can believe. All right, we'll wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Wes Wright for joining us last segment, cookoutnews.com, his website. Alan F. saying prices for Weber products are outrageous. It seemed to happen when they were going public. That also happened to be in pandemic times, and pricing on everything went outrageous, still outrageous. Starting to cool a little bit, depending on how you look at the Fed and interest rates and job markets and all that stuff. But everything seems to be pretty expensive right now, Alan. Still. But in the teeth of the pandemic, no doubt about it. All right, we're going to wrap the first hour. Let's refresh libations, I had time, I'd go grab a coffee to get us into the second hour, but it's just water for me. We'll see you on the other side. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.